We are doing the 3-4 lesson on arithmetic sequences. So it's a pretty short lesson. Kids seem to really understand it. So we're probably going to finish the lesson today also. And keep in mind, I do use the tests to create the lesson. Like I look at the tests, I look at what the end goal is, and I make sure that when I'm going through the lesson, that I hit all of those things that you'll be tested on. I use the test to make the objective and success criteria. All right, so if you're not able to do these things under the success criteria, you won't be ready for the test. So by the end of the lesson, you should be able to identify the common difference between two consecutive terms. You should be able to identify the first term of the sequence. And you should be able to use what's called the explicit and recursive formulas to solve. So all of that is stuff that you'll be tested on. I am recording right now, so I'll post it later for if you are ever absent or you need like a refresher before the test. It'll be in this slideshow. The worksheet that you guys have, I always check them during the entrance or exit tickets. So make sure that by the time we get to the entrance or exit tickets, that it's completely done. If not, you still have till the end of the grading period to get them turned in, but now it's your responsibility to upload it. All right, I won't check them again in class. It's your responsibility to upload it if that's the case. All right, but the worksheets do help you with the entrance exit tickets, like the same style problems. You need to make sure of that you'll be tested on. So here's the breakdown for assessments and deadlines this week. So since we're finishing the lesson today on arithmetic sequences, you'll do the exit ticket tomorrow. So tomorrow we'll probably start off with like a few examples. You'll have time to work on your practice and then take your exit ticket. And then I do think that there will still be time remaining after that. So I think tomorrow would be a good day to come prepared to do test corrections or retakes on your topic 1 or topic 2 assessments. So there's not really a lot of opportunity to do them in class, but basically whenever I'm not teaching, you can do corrections or you can do a retake. Otherwise, you have to come after school, which I know not everyone can, but like I do have tutoring on Thursdays. Otherwise, just make sure you come prepared tomorrow to do those corrections or retakes. Questions about that? All right, so nobody has the option of sitting around and doing nothing tomorrow after we take the exit ticket, especially if you have less than a passing grade in this class. So I will make you do test corrections, just be aware of that. Any questions about anything? All right, so come prepared. Now we're going to jump into the lesson. So first, some vocab. All right, we have arithmetic sequences. So what those are sequences. So it's a sequence in which the difference between any two consecutive terms is constant. So it's the difference between any two consecutive terms is constant. All right, so arithmetic sequences are sequences in which the difference between any two consecutive terms is constant. What does consecutive mean? We learned it Like in topic 1, remember consecutive integers? So what does consecutive mean? Like what are consecutive integers? Like 1, 2, 3, 4. They're numbers that are right next to each other, right? Well, in arithmetic sequences, the consecutive terms might not necessarily be like 1, 2, 3, 4. It just depends on whatever sequence you have. So like, let's say I have 3, 6, 9, and 12. All right, that's an example of an arithmetic sequence. Because between the two consecutive terms, so consecutive means right next to each other. You didn't figure that out in topic 1. Consecutive terms have the same difference between them. All right, and that difference is called the common difference. So the common difference is the numerical difference all right, the common difference is the numerical difference, which is denoted by the letter D, between any two consecutive terms. All right, so common difference is your numerical difference, denoted by D, between any two common terms. So like in that first example for the arithmetic sequence, the 3, 6, 9, 12, what's the common difference between those numbers? It all goes up by 3. So you would say that your common difference is 3. Right? If it was going down by 3, what would be your common difference? -3. All right, so that should be an easy question on your test, and it is on your topic test, is what is the common difference between these two terms? All right, if it was that example, it'd be D equals 3. All right, so also an easy point on your test would be identifying if something is an arithmetic sequence or not. So like if I give you 4 answer options and I tell you to tell me which ones are arithmetic sequences, you should be able to pick out the right ones because they always have the same difference between each number. So if it's different, even for just one of the pairs of numbers, then it's not an arithmetic sequence. All right, think of arithmetic, the A, as like adding. All right, you have to add a number each time to get to the next number. And that number could be positive or negative. So like adding a negative number is like subtracting, but just think of it this way. So like number 1, find the difference between each term. So like what's the difference between 1 and 5? 5 and 9. And 9 and 13. All right, it's kind of like when we did the tables. We found what it was changing by each time. So is this one an arithmetic sequence? Yes, because the common difference is consistent throughout the whole thing. What would the common difference for this one be? 4. Questions about that? Now look at number 2. Is that one an arithmetic sequence? Make sure you look at all the terms. So like what's the difference between 1 and 3? 3 and 5. And 5 and 8. All right, it just has to be different for one of them to make it not an arithmetic sequence. Questions about that? All right, so try 3 through 6 by yourself. Identify whether or not it's an arithmetic sequence. And if it is, say what the common difference is. All right, so number 3, is it an arithmetic sequence?
Yes.
Yes, what was the common difference? Positive or negative 2?
Positive.
If it was positive 2, shouldn't the next number be 10? So it's a negative 2. All right, it's like adding a negative 2 each time, or like subtracting 2 each time, same thing. Or was that one an arithmetic sequence?
Yeah.
What was the common difference in that one? Good, subtracting 3. So be comfortable with your negative numbers too. Negative 8 is a smaller number than negative 5. To get there, you have to minus 3. All right, double check it in your calculator if you need to. Is number 5?
No.
It's not an arithmetic sequence. Because what's the difference between 5 and 10?
5.
And 10 and 20?
10.
So that right there, it not being consistent, I already know that it's not an arithmetic sequence. Is there a pattern going on though?
Yeah.
What's the pattern?
It's going by 5.
No. If it was going by 5, then it would be 5, 10, 15, 20, and it would be arithmetic.
Well, 5 can go into 40. Am I wrong?
I don't think that's what it's looking for here. What is the actual pattern in that one? It's not going up by 10, so that would be 10, 20, 30, 40. 5. Try. It's multiplying by 2 each time, right? 5 times 2 is 10, 10 times 2 is 20, 20 times 2 is 40. All right, but that's not an arithmetic sequence. Yeah, it's a pattern. That's actually a geometric sequence, but we're not there yet. All right, so good observation, but it's not an arithmetic sequence. What about number 6? Is it?
Yes.
And what's the common difference there? I heard different answers. Negative 1 is correct. All right, I have to subtract 1 each time, or add a negative 1 each time. Good there? All right, if you made a mistake, it's not a big deal. Just make sure you adjust it on your paper. If you get to use your paper during the exit ticket. All right, so continuing arithmetic sequences. That should be pretty easy, right? We've done that with the tables before, so we're not going to spend too much time on it. But in order to continue the sequence, what do you have to know? What the pattern is. So in other words, you need to figure out what the common difference is. So find the common difference, which is denoted by D, and then continue it throughout the rest of the pattern. So like, what's the common difference in number 7?
4.
So it's plus 4 each time. So then when I get to the end, what's 21 plus 4? And then 25 plus 4. And 29 plus 4. All right, easy, right? We kind of did that when we did the tables. Let's try number 8, because I know you guys struggle with negatives sometimes. What's the common difference here? Good. I heard someone say it, but I just like to wait for more people to say it. But yes, it's minus 3 each time. So then what's negative 4 minus 3? Negative 7 minus 3. And negative 10 minus 3. All right, easy, right? You can use your calculator even to do it if you don't want to make a mistake. All right, but not hard at all. We'll skip number 9 because I think that's a pretty easy type of problem. But sometimes, and these are questions that I have seen like on the SAT, ACT, the test that I had to take to become a math teacher, like these types of questions do pop up on there. And it's like, what's the 100th term in this sequence? Now, I could continue the sequence like we just did until I get to 100 terms, but is that like a good use of my time? Especially when I'm taking like a timed test? No. So what I'm going to show you down here is what's called the explicit formula. So I changed this on your paper to say explicit formula. Because this formula can help you solve for any term. All right, here's the formula. It's a sub n, so it's like the letter A and like an n in the bottom corner, equals d parentheses n minus 1 close parentheses plus a sub 1. All right, so the 1 and the n are called subscripts. They're like in the bottom corner. All right, so that's the formula. A sub n equals d parentheses n minus 1 plus a sub 1. Now, I don't like making you guys memorize random formulas that you don't use all year, because really we only use this during this section. And like this formula was provided to me on, I don't know about the SAT or ACT, I don't think they provide you with anything, but it was provided to me like for my teacher exams. So like I'm not gonna make you memorize this formula, but you do need to know how to use it. All right, so the D, what does the D represent? Like how I did up here? The common difference. So fill that in here. So again, I'm not making you memorize the formula, but you need to know how to use it. And in order to use it, you need to know what D means. So the D means common difference. A sub 1, I kind of mentioned it in the success criteria. Anyone pay attention to that? What does A sub 1 represent? On the board. I can identify the first term of the sequence as A sub 1. So what's A sub 1? The first term in the sequence. All right, if you can't remember what A sub 1 is, then you might not be able to get that problem right on a test. So that's something you need to remember. Is that A sub 1 represents the first term in the sequence. Questions about the formula so far? All right, so it says that this formula can help you find the nth term. So like if I wanted to find the 100th term, that means I'm replacing 100 where the n is, or whatever term that they tell me to find. So like in these examples down here, that's really good practice. We are going to write the rule for the nth term. We're going to write the rule for the nth term. So plug in D and the A sub 1. And then we're going to find A sub 19. What does A sub 19 mean? If A sub 1 is my first term in the sequence, then A sub 19 is the 19th term. All right, so it won't always make you necessarily find the 19th term. It'll just be whatever number is replacing n that you're finding. All right, so then let's write the rule first. So that's what I'll do in red for number 10. Two things I need to plug into the formula are common difference. So what's my common difference in this one? 6, and it's positive, so make sure it looks positive. And then a sub 1. What's my a sub 1 in this problem? 7, because it's your first term of the sequence, is what a sub 1 is. All right, I think identifying those first is a good strategy, because then all you have to do is just plug them into your formula. So since we're writing the rule for the nth term, we can leave the n's there. The d will be replaced with good, parentheses, n minus 1, close parentheses, plus the a sub 1, which we said is good. All right, I'm going to box that up because that's the rule that it wanted. So that's part of my answer. Questions there? All right, so I'd probably star that because I know you'll see it on your topic test. Is to just make the rule. So just plug in your common difference and your first term in the right spot. Now we need to find the 19th term. So normally it's a sub n, right? So that 19 is replacing the n, right? Because it's normally a sub n, it's a sub 19 now. So plug it in wherever that there is an n. It's like function notation. That's why it's in this unit. All right, when it's f of x normally, and then it becomes f of 12, and you plug the 12 for x. So it's like the same concept. We're plugging it in for the n's. Question so far? Now, just like function notation, the left side is just notation. You don't change the left side. It's not a times the 19. It's just a label. The stuff on the right, though, you can simplify. You could use a calculator. You could use Desmos if you want. Just put it all in at once. If you do that, make sure that you put it in exactly how it looks on your paper, like what I highlighted there, with the parentheses and everything. All right, or you can simplify it by hand. So parentheses first, what's 19 minus 1? 18. All right, and then continue with your order of operations. What's 6 times 18? 108. And then plus 7 is 150. All right, so, and that's my answer. That's my 19th term, is 115. Isn't that easier than continuing the pattern until I get 19 terms? All right, yeah, it is easier. It would be easier too if I had to find like the 100th term, like they love to ask like on the test. So formulas are there to make your life easier, not harder. So know how to use that formula. Try number 11. So try making the rule for this sequence like we did in red, and then try finding the 19th term like we did in blue. All right, so first things we need to identify, or that it's a good strategy to identify, is what? Common difference. What is the common difference? Good, it's a -4. If you didn't put negative, make sure you fix that. So that'll change your answer. All right, and what's your a sub 1? 30. Yes. All right, who's in line? Okay, you'll be up. Jack. All right, so then now plug it into your formula. So it's for the nth term, so that means the n's can stay there. And your common difference is what? All right, parentheses, again, the n's can stay there because it's for the nth term. And then what else? Plus 30. All right, good questions, easy. All right, I hope so. because you'll see it on your test. Then we need to find the a sub 19. So the 19th term. So what am I replacing with 19? All the n's. On the left is just notation. On the right, replace the n with 19. And now since those are all numbers, you can simplify it and actually get an answer. So what was your final answer for this one? Negative 42 is correct. Anyone get something different? All right, so like you could simplify it by hand, like we did over here. But I always see students make like silly mistakes. Like, I don't know, they just forget how to add and subtract integers or their order of operations. So like, I suggest typing it into your calculator. All right, if you do, this is what it looks like. All right, so opening up Desmos. And what I highlighted is what I put in. Don't put in the a sub 19. I don't think it'll tell you anything. But put in everything else. So the negative 4 times 19 minus 1 in parentheses plus 30. All right, I put it in all at once, exactly how it looks on my paper. I let the calculator do order of operations for me. That makes sense? Any questions? All right, so next page then. These back here is just more practice with the same thing we already did. I don't think what we did is that difficult, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on it unless you want to see a specific one. But for writing your formula, you just need to identify two things. What do you need to identify? And the other thing? A sub 1, your first term. So what's the common difference in 12? Is it plus 3 or minus 3? Look at it, don't just think about how I asked the question. All right, yes, you're adding 3. I just wanted to make sense. All right, yes, you're adding 3 each time. Because like negative 8 is bigger than negative 11. To get there, I had to add 3. That makes sense? All right, so D will be replaced with 3 in the formula. What's my a sub 1? Good. And then I'll just leave it there. If you want to practice writing the formula, go ahead. What's the common difference in 13? Good, so it should be a positive 2. What's my a sub 1? Good. And 14, what's my common difference? Negative 4, negative 5. And my a sub 1 is good. 15, what's my common difference? Good, so it's negative 9, and then my a sub 1 is all right, questions, comments? No, not the last time. All right, so fill in those for the formula, and then that's how you write your explicit formula. Down here, we need to also talk about the recursive formula. So I changed this on your paper to say arithmetic recursive formula. So that's already written what I'm writing right now. All right, but that formula, it's still the same concept. You're still replacing the common difference in your first term, but it asks you that on the test. So just make sure that you can do it on your test. So here's the rule in black that you need to write. It's going to be a sub n equals a sub n minus 1 So both of these are little, both of these are a subscript. And then plus d. So a sub n equals a sub n minus 1, and then plus d. Also, you have to put a semicolon and then put what a sub 1 equals, which is your first term. All right, so that'll give you the points on your topic 3 test. And it's not multiple choice, so you have to be able to fill it in. I'll give you the formula. You have to be able to replace the d with what? The common difference. And the a sub 1 with your first term in the sequence. So we'll do an example. So this will be number 16. We're going to write the recursive rule for this sequence. It's 30, 26, 22, 18, and then it keeps going. So we're going to write the recursive rule for the nth term. So let's write the recursive rule for the nth term. All right, so here's my formula. Since it's for the nth term, I can leave it there. All the n's. But I need to replace the d with my common difference. What is my common difference? -4. So I should put a -4 here, because that's what d equals. That makes sense? So that's the first part of my rule. And then don't forget, put a semicolon and identify your first term. What's your first term? 30. So in the red, that would give me the full points on the test. Again, we're just plugging it in the right spots. Now B, so like part B, can be find a sub 20. All right, so what does a sub 20 mean? What term is that? It would be your 20th term. All right, so all you have to do on your test really is just write the rule, but this like explains why there's 2 rules. So a sub 20 is my 20th term. We know what the 19th term is because that's what we did in number 11. All right, so this is the same sequence that we use in number 11, right? So we know that the 19th term is -42. What this formula is saying is that the 20th term is basically the 19th term, as a sub 20 minus 1 is a sub 19 minus 4. Doesn't that make sense? Aren't all the sequences like the previous number minus 4? Yes. So like to find the 20th term, and if I was plugging that in like that, it would be a sub 20 equals a sub 19 minus 4. And we know what a sub 19 is. What was it? -42. So a sub 20 is -42 minus 4. So then what's my 20th term? What's -42 minus 4? -46. All right, so that's what the formula is used for, just so that you know. But again, all we're testing you on is, can you identify your common difference, your first term in the sequence, and plug it in, just like we do in substitution. Question? All right, don't line up at the door. we're working on the worksheet.